Let's go testing 1, 2, 3. All right, so let me just adjust the microphone volume here. Yes, that's better. All right. Jozo said, hey, your mic works. Thanks for that. Appreciate the feedback. So in the last, actually before the live stream, I was trying to tweak some values for the aiming, and I've discovered several things. Well, first is that when you aim, let me just remove the one line trace that I've that I've been trying to make. And I'm also going to show you in the I'm gonna have to open up the Last of Us to show you. But this is not going to be a the Last of Us 2 gameplay, by the way. It's just for exemplification. Yeah, that's a very interesting comment. Jad Sassine said, "Damn, my goal in game dev is to reach your point, being able to implement any idea I think of without looking through tutorials every time." Yeah, the the only tutorial I looked after was the line trace implementation, and I didn't even follow it through. I just watched, like the tutorial was 10 minutes long, and I only watched 2 minutes, and I understood what I was going to do, and the actual solution was really not in the tutorial itself, was an idea that I got for myself. So when I watched the tutorial, I thought, well, I can make this instead, because each solution depends, each code is going to depend on the project needs and each project's current code that is already in there. Let me just get this one here to be loaded. Jet Susine said, how did you learn then the basics and how to build the mechanics? The basics I've learned through an range in documentations and a range in live streams. There is a specific channel on YouTube that shows you that. Let me see if I can get the weapon. Yeah, this part, I don't like this part. Let me just see if there is any other part that I can use the weapon. So I just started to join. You know, there's also Discord. There's also a Discord server called Unreal Slack. I think it's from Unreal, so you can ask questions there. So I just try to look into ways to improve. So as you can see, when you aim up and down, as you can see, the crosshair is in the middle of the screen, and if you, of course, there's a little bit of lag in there. I don't like this lag. Maybe it's an issue. I liked when the character can just turn right away, but that's fine. So as you can see, the crosshair is always in the middle of the screen. Even if you try to turn, it's always there. And as you can see, the precision is also pretty good. So that's the thing that I'm trying to do here. What's happening here is that when I try to press on when I press on play in here, yeah, it's going to lag a little bit. Let me just see if I can. Now the current line trace is based off on the it's based off on the socket of the pistol of the weapon that you're holding. So when you aim down, so what happens is that when the character is really moving and having all those, you know, turbulences of the animation, as you can see, the aiming is not going to be really, you're not going to have a really good precise aiming, as you can see right there. So we can fix this in two ways, either by fixing the animation, making the pelvis to look to move a little bit stable. So as you can see, the character maybe I don't know, I think it jumps a little bit when you're, especially when you're doing the pivots, going from left to right. As you can see, the aiming moves up and down without moving up and down. And as you can see in here, The Last of Us, it's always, it also the aim also, it has a little bit of, it doesn't have that much precision. And that's the thing that I want to try to fix. So the solution I found for this was not in the animation itself, but using the camera as a reference to aim. To aim. So I'm just going to get the line trace to be a little bit of green, maybe red or blue. Maybe blue works. The trace hit color is going to be a white, just to differentiate, so that you can see the. Let me just resize this a little bit, so that you can see the difference between the aiming. So let me just get the pistol. I think I've done this with the pistol. Maybe this should be. The line trace should be based off on what kind of weapon you have, or maybe I should just fix the location of the bow. As you can see, when you aim like this, the aiming is very, the blue line trace is very up, and I don't like that. Maybe it's an issue with the position, the way I positioned the bow. Or I could also try to fix that in the animation itself of the aiming state. But let's just drop this bow and get the pistol. So as you can see, I've tweaked some parameters so that the blue line trace can work with the pistol. So as you can see, the blue line trace is the location based on the camera. So when I move up and down, it reads basically it reads basically the location of the camera, where the camera is, and then use that as a reference to point and use and position the line trace where it should be. I was just say, in my experience, it was very useful to find a simple game, Doom 1 or similar, and try to recreate it. Other than that, doing courses that have organized structure really helps. Yeah, that's basically just try to do it yourself and learn from your mistakes. Try to learn why it happens. If you can find really why something is not working, if you try to do a code or a tutorial that's not working, try to use ChatGPT to help you. And as soon as you ask a question to ChatGPT or any other Discord server to ask for help, try to include the maximum context that you can deliver to it, because game development is very contextual and it requires a lot of context for someone to really help you. So you have to give the context, such as I'm using GASP, for example, GASP plus ALS. I'm using the sandbox character. Inside the sandbox character, on the event graph, I found a boolean named such as da da da. So give the maximum context as possible is a good practice. But yeah, Helldivers have great UI for that weapon lag delay. Are you using The Last of Us as a reference? Yes. Your stream lags for me very badly. Is it lagging right now or is it normal? Because I don't really know if it's lagging. Yeah, my whole my whole PC was lagging as well before. But look, do you account for any object being between the camera and the gun? Do you account for an object being between camera and the gun? Can I explain further? I didn't understand your question. What kind of object? So as you can see, the blue line trace has a lot more precise aiming than the red one, and that's because the red one is being positioned based off the location and rotation of the pistol. So as you can see right there, the blue line trace works very good, very much better than the other one, but still has a lot of turbulence, but that's okay, I think. It's better than the red one. The red one moves a lot more randomized because it's just basically reading off of the location of the gun. And the way I did the blue line trace was basically getting whatever current weapon reference you have. So I have this macro to read that. It's not very performant because you're running it on the event tick, and you're using the for each loop. And then you get the owned weapons. I have to optimize this a little bit, of course, but this was just a test, a prototype test to see if I can get some results, and then later we can optimize it. But so far, I think I haven't noticed any performance issues so far, so we're good. So basically, I got the camera location where the camera is. So we have the camera, and I get the world location, and then get the world rotation. I get the forward vector, and then I do the multiply math node. I add some value in here, so that's the length. The length of the where the weapon could reach. I would recommend it to put some value like these 000 1 million 100,000. I think that's 1 million, and just see where the trace is going to reach. The only problem is that when you're not aiming, it is still going to read from the camera, so you have to pay attention to that. Even if you're not aiming, it's like if the pistol was still aiming, but it's not the ideal. So you can only use the blue line trace when the character is aiming. So just make sure that's the case. If you use the line trace from camera and you get the gun, what happens then? There's an object behind you, your right shoulder. Will line trace hit the object before it moves in front of the gun? What happens when there's an object behind your right shoulder? Will the line trace hit the object before it moves in front of the gun? No, because the line trace is spawned right in front of the gun. If there's an object right here, if there's an object behind your right shoulder, like here, Now, as the line trace, the start location is going to start right over here. There's no such problem of an object being right here. So basically the start location is going to be here and the end location is going to be whatever it is. I haven't watched all the streams. DJ B Blacklight said I haven't watched all the streams, so forgive me if you covered this. Did you start with just a clean GASP project as well as a clean ALS? If you start with the first stream, are we able to follow along? Yeah, you're able to follow along, but maybe you're going to get a lot of stress because I've got to redo things. But yeah, you can follow along. You can try to follow along. Let me just get the live streams. So as you can see, if you go to the live streams, you're going to be able to see I've used all the clean projects, and I've started to explain a little bit what ALS is, what GASP is. So I've tried to explain everything from the start. But if you try to follow along, that's very respectful from me. If you have any questions, you can comment down below, because you can try to contact me on Discord to see what issue you have regarding the implementations. But of course, you can always download the project as well to see what you've did wrong, what you've done wrong, and try to compare with your own project to get the reference. So it spawned from the gun and go into the camera's view center. Yes, yeah. So the line trace by channel uses the bullet start location, which is the arrow that we spawned there. So as you can see, if you go to the pistol child blueprint and go to the viewport, as you can see, we have an arrow to represent where the bullet is going to come out from. And we use that same reference to spawn the line trace. So by getting the location, which is this one right here, we can spawn the line trace, the start location of that line trace to be there. And then we use the camera location. We add a little bit of offset because it's not perfect, so that we can get the end location for the pistol. So we have this result. But I still have to work on it because I have to centralize the character as well. So we have another issue, which is when you move from the right to the left side. As you can see, the character also moves sometimes very, very much to the left. As you can see right here, it moved very, very much to the left. And that could be a problem, I think. I'm not sure. But so far, I don't know how to reduce the lag. And I think this is because if you try to get the hidden in game off, as you can see, I think the camera, the new camera system that they have implemented, which is the GameplayCamera, there is no such option to make the camera to follow the character's mesh. I haven't got to that option yet. But as you can see, the character moves a little bit to the right, and you can pretty much see that the camera is following the capsule and not the mesh of the character itself. So I wish there could be an option. So if anybody knows an option to make the new GameplayCamera system to follow the mesh instead of the capsule, That'll be very helpful. So what I want to try to make is that I want the camera to follow the pelvis location of the character or the spine location, so that we can have a nice smooth transition and a better aiming precision, I suppose. But we could try to use the capsule location. We can try to use the Y and Z axis location for the camera, and for the line trace we can use some properties from the capsule and the mesh to make a very stable stable precision camera. I don't know what else I can say. But I have an idea of how I'm going to achieve this. So the whole idea here is just to make a very precise aiming system for this project. But that's all. The boom arm, the spring arm. I think the spring arm is following the... Actually, by default, it comes with the capsule component. If you try to attach it to the spine, I think it doesn't work. As you can see, it's going to be following the spine, but I think it's not gonna work. As you can see, the gameplay camera overrides everything. So even if you change the parent, it's not gonna work. I think the gameplay camera overrides everything. So here on the event graph, you can see that on the event begin play, the event tick. Where is it? Camera, set up camera. So here on the event possessed client, we set up the camera, which overrides everything. So here we can have we activate the camera player from controller. We use the camera rig. So if I don't find an option to reduce or increase the lag and be able to attach the spring arm socket to the spine of the character, I could consider to delete the gameplay camera and start using the camera that's in the default one, like it's in this one, so that you can change and customize the lag options. So you can see if you go to the spring arm, you can customize the lag. So you can choose the camera lag speed, all that. And you can also customize the camera in the back end of the code. And you can also make the spring arm to be based on the character's mesh. And then attach it to the spine, for example, so that the camera can follow the spine of the character, and it gives a much nicer looking as well. So as you can see, and this mode is great when you're dealing with stealth on enemies, but you're gonna have to add a little bit of lag speed and combine everything to make it not look to make it to not cause dizziness. So have to be very careful with that. Anyways, so think the aiming is a little bit down. So I'm just going to make it to be a little bit upwards. So I'm going to add 200 in here so that we can have that nice little offset. Yeah, I think it's more, maybe 1800 would work for the pistol. And then we're gonna have to customize it for, I don't know. Let me just see if this is being executed at all. So when I get the pistol, I don't know why it's not being updated. I'm going to move it back to the capsule component to be based on the capsule component, and then play again to see if that's a bug. Yeah, that's weird. Let me just try to change the end location. I think the end location also matters. So I'm going to try to remove some zeros in here and try to see if I get any. Yeah, as you can see, if I try to change the length of the line, the position, the vertical position, if you change it here, it's also going to matter. What Joseph said, this seems a bit magic number. Why? Anyway, to make it without a random offset number. From which code do you mean? For the line trace? Yep, the line trace you're trying to align now. The Y, I think the Y represents the left or right location. So if you have the positive number, if you add the positive number, it's going to be on the right. If you add a negative number, it's going to be on the left. It's going to be more on the left, and that makes more sense. Right now, I'm very focused on the Z-axis. That I'm forgetting the Y-axis as well, so that makes sense. We're gonna have to try to find a good number for the Y-axis as well, because so that we can align it to make it more to make it align with the world. So the Y, I think the Y right number is going to depend on the camera location, because I want to make it to be very centralized. So as you can see, if I stop aiming, it gets to be in the middle of the screen. So the idea here is to get a Y number that aligns with the center of the screen when the character is aiming like these, right? So when the character is aiming like these, I want to make it so that the Y number matches the center of the screen, the Z as well. So, but this is going to be after we're going to have to do this refinements after we remove the gameplay camera, because I think you're gonna have better results with the normal camera for now. I find the gameplay camera a little bit hard to set up, as you can see if you click on the gameplay camera. I think there aren't many tutorials that talks about the gameplay camera. So as you can see, when you click on that, you have a lot of options, which is great. You can have options to have the balanced free camera, the aim, strafe. So that's all going to depend on which state of the camera you're currently in. As you can see, if you scroll with the mouse, as you can see, you can choose different camera styles: close, balance, or far. The one I'm using right now is far, but if I choose it to be close, as you can see, you have that camera effect, which is great. But of course, we can have all these to work with timelines manually after, but this is going to generally requires a lot of work. And you also have the camera rig prefab basic third-person camera behavior, which you have these nodes. You can change the translation, offset. I haven't used them yet. But you also have this toolbox where you can add also the film back, but I don't really know how they work yet. And you have this sort of variables in place in here. I don't know what they're for. Interface parameter name, the expose for parameter. Maybe it's those input pins that you can see in here. And then you can just connect the lens parameter and then connect in here. I don't know how they work. Yeah, right now it's just the boring part of finding out what's the right value, what's the best value for aligning the blue line trace with the red one. Because the red one gives you the more accurate of where the bullet is going to end, is going to impact on the surface. And right now it's just a matter of tweaking the values and see which one will be aligning will make more sense for aligning the crosshair in the screen. But I think we got to a point to a point where it's very good. Now I just need to make the crosshair. I think this is going to be for later because I forgot how to make a crosshair. The last tutorial that I made about making crosshair was about 2 years ago, so I might not remember what to do. So as you can see, even if you move the character, even if there is a turbulence on the animation, as you can see, the red one is being a little bit crazy, and the blue line trace is going to be a lot more stable, which is going to help for us to make the crosshair and make the aiming to be a lot more precise. But you just got to make sure that only when the character is aiming, you can be able to shoot, because if you're running, as you can see, the blue line trace is still going to get the location of the camera to align with the world. So you have to be very, very careful with that. So even if you shoot, it's going to hit the target. It's going to follow the blue line trace. And right now it's just a matter of getting the bullet to follow the blue line trace, and then after that we can make it to work with the bow as well. So as you can see, the bow has a different offset, which we also have to tweak. But right now when you shoot, it follows the red one. The blue line trace is just a visual representation of how the future is going to be like. So in the future, when you're going to be shooting with the bow, to give a better example with the pistol, even if you shoot, the bullet is going to follow the blue line. It's going to follow the blue line trace, and it's going to hit exactly that point. So right now we just have to make the bullet to follow the blue line trace and make it hit the target. But for now, as this is a very complex topic, I'm not going to cover it now on this live stream, because it's going to take a lot of time, because we have to refine it and get the best values for achieving a very precise aiming. And we also have to remove the gameplay camera and add the most basic one, and then we can refine it later. So right now, what I'm going to do is just get this code to be work in progress. I'm just going to add a new comment here and get this to be work in progress. And this is going to be about the precise aiming. And later you can choose to have the precise aiming, or to not have the precise aiming, to have the aiming based off where the pistol or whatever weapon you're holding is aiming at. So depending on where the weapon is rotated, the bullet is going to shoot based off the location, the rotation of where the weapon is. Or we can have the precise aiming, where it's the bullet is going to hit where, based off where the camera is aiming, which is a lot more nicer. Yeah. So right now, what we can do is go ahead and get the weapon reload to be done, the system that we were trying to make yesterday. And I got the animation for the bow shooting, which is this one right here. As you can see, it's just a simple animation sequence. And this one could be for the reload state. I don't have the shooting yet, but this works. This could also work for the shooting. So I think we should also have the shooting animation for the bow for when the character is shooting. And this one is going to only be useful for when the character is reloading with the bow. Of course, we're gonna have to have other reload animations for the other weapons, such as pistol and rifle. So we're going to probably have to replace this bow in here. Replace this bow in here with another mesh, and replace the rifle as well, because it doesn't. The rifle is just a prototype. Anyways, it works for the purpose, but as we want to have, if you want to have a very nice weapon, it's up to you. I think it doesn't really matter in the prototype phase, but it gets to have the idea of the realism that we want to achieve. So right now, when I press R, it gets to check if the character is. It basically gets the reference of whatever weapon is equipped on the character's hand. If that weapon is found, then we're going to check what kind of weapon the character is holding. So if the character is holding the bow, we're going to play the reloaded animation for the bow. But firstly, we're going to have to check if the ammo is empty. Let me just check which variable name that is when you're aiming with the bow. The current ammo quantity, as you can see right there, is 1. And that's going to be the ammo that is currently being loaded into the bow. In this case, the arrow is already loaded into the bow, if that makes sense. So we're going to have to check if the current ammo quantity is equals to 0 or not, or maybe if it equals to, yeah, it's going to require a little bit of logic here. We're going to have to think a little bit before we can have those variable checks. So if the current, let me just print this out. This is a little bit complicated to explain, but if the ammo capacity is less than if the current ammo quantity is less than the ammo capacity, if it's less than the ammo capacity, we're able to reload. So I'm trying to get the reference of The Last of Us 2. If you press R and you have your weapon fully loaded. So let's say, for example, the ammo capacity for the pistol is 8, and the current ammo quantity on the pistol is 8. If you try to press R, you're not going to be able to reload because your weapon is full. The magazine is full. But if you shoot once and the current ammo quantity gets to be 7, for example, so it's less than 8, it's less than the ammo capacity, we're going to be able to reload if the let me just try to reduce the size of this. And if you still have ammo to reload, if it's greater, yeah, we're gonna have to think about this as well. Current pocket ammo quantity. So if the current pocket ammo quantity is greater, I think greater is like this, the arrow is pointing right. If it's greater or equal than 1, then the character is going to be able to reload. So we have a lot of checks to do there. So the first check, we're going to check for the pistol. I don't have the reload animations for the pistol. I'm gonna have to try to figure out which reload animation. I think I have the reload animation from the weapon projectile weapon shooting system. I'm just trying to get to that project file, to that project, to see which reload animation I'm using. I think I'm using a very good one. And then what we're going to try to do is just export that reload animation to place in here so that everything's fine. And the other thing that I added here after creating the montage for the reload bow animation is that in the montage, the default group here is going to be on the arm right. So as you can see, this montage is working, and I'm going to show you how this montage is being played in the world. So as you can see, I'm going to assign the slot as arm right, and this slot is it comes from the ALS layering system, from the ALS complex layering system. So all you gotta do here is just assign to the right slot. So as you can see, you can click on the slot name, and go to the right arm, and then there you go, it works. So as you can see, if I try to pick up the ball, try to shoot once, and then I have to reload, of course, and then I press R. As you can see, the character can reload. As you can see, it looks very nice. I like that animation a lot, and especially because it only plays on the right arm of the character. So I don't know, I think something is missing here. Maybe the sound effect is missing, maybe the arrow itself is missing, and the animation for the bow stretching is missing. So we're gonna have to synchronize the animation of the bow stretching with the aiming. So as you can see, we can basically add a curve. So create a curve name. So let's say a bow stretch time, and then from here, based off the animation, so as you can see, here's when the bow is going to be not stretched. So here, from here, the bow is going to be stretched, so fully stretched. So you can set that value to 1. And as this is a linear movement, we don't really hit. I think this is going to be right over here. As this is a linear movement, as he does that in a linear movement, we don't need to really set a curve in here, like do something like, oops. Do something like this, you know, and then add a smooth curve in here. Maybe you can add a smooth curve, there's no problem with that, but other than that, that's just all. We can add a smooth, make it to be smooth, so that as soon as you can see, bow stretch time. As you're able to see, so based off on this value, the bow is going to be stretched. So 0 is going to mean that the bow is not stretched, and 1 is going to be that the bow is going to mean that the bow is going to be fully stretched. And based off this curve, we're going to have to read it from the sandbox character and blah blah blah. We're going to have to do a lot of things before we can get the bow to be stretched, really stretched, and we're going to have to send that information off directly to the bow. We can either send that information directly to the bow. Yeah, we're going to have to do a lot of blueprint communication in there. Try to make it to be as this is just for the bow. Only the bow has that sort of separate animation. As you can see, if you try to go to the bow, only the bow has the ability to stretch and deform. So as you can see, only the bow has the separate animation blueprint, which is really interesting as well. I like that. So only the bow has that one single animation, which is based off a explicit, just one single float. As you can see, the bow can stretch. And the cool thing about those animations is they only last 1 second, and I think it was made from I'm not sure if it was made from Caleb, but it really works good. As you can see, you can even select the bones and see the hierarchy. So you can stretch it yourself to see how it works. If you want to add the string to be in here, you can also do that. As you can see, it lasts 1 second, which means that we can basically define the amount of, as you can see right here, you can basically define the amount of seconds that the bow is going to be at. Here's not working because, yeah, you have to, as you can see, the stretch happens as soon as you change the draw value, and it gets to be easier for us to manage inside the graph, as the animation is 1 second. It's great. So we can do that. So it's missing a lot of things. It's missing a lot of things that we can add in order to make it realistic. Maybe we could also add a camera effect that could. So as you can see, it's just. I don't know, I think it's missing something. I don't know what it is, but. Can you make a tutorial on aim offset in fresh game animation simple? I don't have that yet, but I have a tutorial that I made a while ago that talks about aim offsets, but I don't usually use aim offsets at all, so but I have this tutorial you can watch about adding a game offset. I think it's not really easy if you understand how it's done. So you can watch this tutorial and see. I think it's not very difficult, but we're gonna have to adapt some codes into the graph, and that's going to take a lot of time, maybe, depending on how hard it is. It's going to depend on the way you adapt it and how you want to adapt it. So let's go to the weapon system projectiles. Weapon system premium. So here we have the equip, and I probably have the reload as well. Here's the reload. I think I only have that reload animation, so I'm just going to use that and export it to the desktop. Then pistol reload and go back to the game animation sample and go to the content folder and import it and select the pistol reload. And here on the sculpting, you're gonna have to make sure that you have to select the right one and import. So in here, what we can do, I'm not sure which slot to select to play this montage. As you can see, I've just made a montage in here, but I'm gonna have to try to see how, based off instead of getting the switch in here, we can use the same montage. I think it's going to be a lot more cleaner. We can use the same node for all of them. So instead of just duplicating the play montage node, we can just select from here and plug the saved weapon tag directly in here, so that we can select for each one. And also the play rate. Play rate is going to be selectable based off the weapon tag. So for the bow, I'm going to add the play rate of 1.4 and then add in here. I think I could also make it to be a macro. Still thinking about it. Make everything to be a macro, so and just see if that's gonna work. Reload animation. Just testing new things out to see if they work. This is going to be, yeah, this is the same one, so I'm just going to remove the index 0, index 2. Saved weapon tag. So here's going to be the weapon tag. Enter. All right. So the reload play. This is going to be called play reload animation. And this could be all based off of this. Yeah, I don't know. I think the old way is better, but it's much more. So here you can do a switch. Yeah, so I'm gonna do this. So if it's equal to that weapon tag that I've selected in there, it's going to work. So that we can make it based off of that weapon tag. So saved. Yeah, I'm going to use the saved weapon tag variable to be on here. So I'm going to get the saved weapon tag. So based on the saved weapon tag variable in here, which is going to be promoted from this node, which is very necessary in order for us to know which what kind of weapon we have. So based on the weapon tag that we selected in here, so maybe if you want to play the animation for the pistol, we're gonna have to select the montage to play for the pistol. So pistol reload montage, as you can see. And if it's not, maybe you can do a sequence, but that's not the usual way of doing this. I think the best way to do this would be with the switch. I think this is the most correct way to do this. So I think this is going to be for the, I think this is going to be better. Yeah, I think so. If that's the case, we can just delete all of this and just get the weapon tag to be connected to nothing. And just basically connect the weapon tag to whatever is the best one. So this is for the pistol. So we're going to select the montage to play for the pistol. For the bow is going to be for the bow. And this is going to be for the bow. Where is the bow reload? Let me just see where the bow reload is. Here's the bow. This is the shoot animation, but I think it also is the reload one. So I'm just going to name it reload. There you go. Oh yeah. It's a little bit messy here. I have a new keyboard, so sometimes I get lost. Bow. So for the bow plate rate, we're going to select 1.4, and for the pistol, maybe 1.2 works. So we can have a nicer. Sometimes I stress out on The Last of Us 2 because sometimes the character reloads very slowly, and I want him to reload very fast. So that annoys me a little bit. So let me just try to test it out to see if it works. I'm just going to spam some bullets here. Yeah, so that works. So, but now the character is just staying on the standing pose. What I really want to try to do is maybe get the pistol to be, not the pistol, the spine. Maybe putting it to be the spine. Maybe it's going to work for the reload. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to figure out what's the best solution for the for playing the animations that use both arms. There is also a way that we can add a new slot and add the arm left, but there is no way that you can duplicate the animation, as you can see right there. We can add a new montage, new slot, or yeah, let me just play the animation for the right arm to see if, as you can see, the character only plays the animation for the the right arm. If I try to move this to be the left arm instead, this is going to be for the right arm. I think the animation is going to work, but that's really interesting. I wish there was a way to make the animation sequence to be played both on the on both arms. I'm gonna try pelvis to see if something works. That's what happens when you only execute the animation on the only on the pelvis. I'm gonna try to use the equip slot, I think. If we... So the idea here is to, as you can only execute, there is no such way we can execute an animation for both arms. So trying to think what I can do here. Maybe I'm gonna have to create a new default slot called as arm left and arm right, so that we can execute both at the same time. What I can try to do as well is to make a separate state machine only for the weapon reloads, equips, and then add every single curve that is necessary in order to play that animation, that specific animation, so that we can have more control on how you want to specifically play, how we want to play the animation to specific parts of the body. That could also be a very interesting approach. I'm gonna try to do that as well. So get state machine, pistol, which call this pistol 1H reload overlay. And then here I'm going to have a switch. I'm gonna have to create a boolean to let the character know that we're switching, not switching, playing the animation. So actually, yeah. I think I'm going to create a numerator. I think it's going to be a lot easier than just a boolean, because I'm thinking about that if we only create a state machine and only add a boolean, maybe you're pressing the R button, you want to reload the weapon and play the animations for both arms. But if you're aiming with the right arm and just try to pick up an item or ammo that is on the ground, if you press F, as you can see, as the character is holding the hand of the right arm, the hand of the pistol on the right arm, and he can try to play an animation for the left arm to pick up the ammo. So yeah. But I think the best way to handle this could be inside, for the ammo pickups, could be inside the aiming state. And then just add a layering blend per bone, blah, blah, blah. And then we can add in here. But I'm also thinking, if we're aiming and then try to reload, maybe the way that we use the blending is not going to be the same as we are in the ready state, right? So maybe the right way to do it would be different depending on the character state, the character current state. So yeah, if you're aiming, then maybe the correct way to use the layering blend per bone would be by using the mesh space or the local space. So it's going to depend if the character is aiming or is on the ready pose or it's relaxed. Yeah, so let's just play the animation instead. We're going to do, let's just do one boolean for now, so that I can test it out, see if it works. So reload animation. Maybe we're gonna have to separate things, just see. So maybe a boolean, maybe a numerator could be better, but let's just test this for now. So we're going to play the reload animation. If this boolean is true, we're playing the reload. If this boolean is false, we're just going to stop playing the reload animation. Maybe this, all of this is not necessary to go in front. I'm just gonna have to set a delay animation for finishing the reload animation. A delay space, a delay to finish the reload animation. So we're going to set the start and end. Set up the right timing there. And then go to the event graph. Get the sandbox scared and get the reload animation, and then promote it to a variable. Then put it here. And then in here, we're going to add the layering curves. So when you're aiming, I think I'm going to copy all the curves that are going to be in here. So when you're aiming, this animation, especially when you're standing still, this animation is played. So I'm just going to copy paste all those curves to be in the reload animation. Let's just see if that's gonna work. That sort of worked, and that looks great. That's looking great. I mean that's better than I expected. Now this is a very important step because we need to really know exactly when the animation is going to finish, when it's going to start. Actually, it's very important to know if the animation is finished or if the animation is interrupted. So those variables, those two informations are very important to know. If when the animation has finished, we have to be notified. And if in case the animation was interrupted, we have to also be informed. The code has to know, the character has to know that. So I'm going to set the duration of just 1, so that I think that's enough for playing the animation. And I'm going to also set the true blend time to be 2, and the blend type to be any works. Both the synodi or Hermite cubic in out works to have a nice smooth blending. A blend in and blend out for them to be smooth. I also like to select those. So as you can see when I press R, I'm going to be setting the duration to be 2, and the blend out is going to be, which is the false. Let me just check it out. What's going on here? So when I reload, so when it goes to false, we're going to set a blend time to be 0.5. So that's going to have a nicer blend out. I'm going to also set back the delay duration to be false, to be 1. Yeah, don't worry about the legs right now because it's a work in progress. So for the legs, we can set the layering for the legs to be 0, the value to be 0, and just, it's basically, now here's the boring part, because it's just testing new values and see which one will make the character to work the best. As you can see now, the legs are not moving right. I think it's the pelvis. So the pelvis now is not rotating, so you're gonna have to check it out, go back. Maybe the layering legs could be 0.5 and the spine could be a 0.5 as well. So in case the pelvis can be 0.5. So it's really not the spine. I think the spine could be 0.5 as well. So you really have to pay attention to the details and identify what. As you can see, the spine moves. The left arm is moving very weird. Let me just try to fix that right now. So arm left. If you want, you can just select all of them and edit the selected curves all by once. As you can see, the arm L. We also have the missing curve here, which is the arm LMS, which is also a curve that could be added in here. I'm going to add this to be 0 and see what happens. Yeah, it's still not quite there. Yeah, now comes the boring part where we're gonna have to test these values out and see which one works the best. I probably could make I think that right now is better. Let me just see how this reload animation is. Reload, pistol reload. Yeah, as you can see, the right arm. We also have the hand R to also tweak. Maybe, let me just see, hand R. I think the hand R is just for the IK. Yeah, the layering hand R, MS. And I'm not sure yet if the hand should be mesh space or local space. So MS stands for mesh space, and the ALS means for local space. I've published this something about this in the maybe the ALS coding tips for premium members. Let me see if I can find something related. Local space. Here. So as you can see, the kind of result that we get, depending on which type of blending we select. So as you can see, when the character is holding the gun on the ready pose, this is the ready pose of the character holding the gun. So as you can see, here's the result. So I've added the arm right local space, so equals to 1. In this case, for the ready pose, it doesn't look good. As you can see, we have bone distortion on the shoulder. And so the local space is 1 and the mesh space is 0. So that's the result you get. And that's the result you get if you switch. Yeah, actually, this is this is wrong. I think this is 0 and this is 1. There we go, because that was the same. So the local space refers to the position and rotation of bones relative to the parent bones. Yeah, so it's just one or the other. So as you can see, this, when the character is aiming and standing still, these are the best values for the reload system, as you can see right there. I'm gonna try to zoom in and try to reload from here. So when you shoot, you can just spend bullets. Now I'm going to press R. As you can see, we have a nice reload animation, but when you're running, now everything gets worse. So we're gonna have to separate things, have custom reload animations for when the character's running. Hold on. I think I glitched my viewport again. Okay, so by pressing F10, you can have a nicer view, a different view of the viewport. So F10 does that. Yeah, so what I've realized is that we're gonna have to have different reload. If we want to have a very nice looking reload animations for the weapons, I've concluded that we're gonna have to have those animations to be set depending on the movement state of the character. So that means that the problem is that if you stand still and then try to run, that animation is going to be a little bit bad. Yeah, the thing that I noticed is that when you play the montage, when you just play the montage with the left arm, it works nicely. It works very good. I wonder how that's going to look like if you play both for both arms. I wonder how that's going to be. But I think the way the ALS layering system works is that you can just play one at a time. But if you actually use the default slider, it's going to work nicely. The reload animation. As you can see, just blend. Yeah, I'm just gonna try to blend the just gonna try to blend, create a slot for reload. Just going to go to the montage sections. No, not the montage sections, the animation slot manager. Add a new slot. And I'm going to name this to be reload slot. I'm going to try to blend the spine. The blend depth is going to be 3. And the blend weight is going to depend on if this slot is active or not. So this, and if it's not active, the blend weight is going to be 0. We're gonna have to plug this into here as well. So save cache, save pose. So I'm just going to select a reload slot. Let's see what happens. I think the base pose is wrong. This is for here. There we go. Yeah, that's looking really nice. That's looking really nice. I'm just wondering if you could do this in the ALS. Just create a new curve value in here. Let's say slot arm right plus arm left. We cannot do that. We're just gonna have to select just one single default slot. There's no way to select both. So wish there was a way to select both. The bow was equipped with the stretched, with it being stretched. That's funny. But I think we're close to something great. Something great's gonna happen. Just feeling it. I guess for now I'm gonna stick with the simple basic setup, which is just this is not gonna work, so I'm just going to delete that. Modify curve I'm not using right now. So we're going to follow with the basic. I think there's no problem following the basic. So I'm going to move this with the to be. So if this slot active is true, we're going to switch it from here, not from there. So I'm going to just switch those layers, complex layers. This is going to be for the true pose. If the reload is true, then we're going to switch. Actually, this is actually what should be in here is the active reload variable. So I think this should be the reload animation should be in here. The reload should be in here as soon as we reload. And of course, we're going to have a little bit of delay. Let's say duration of 1. So let's set the duration of 1 for the reload animation to finish. Of course, it's going to depend on how long the animation takes to finish. In my case, I think it's just 1 second. Let me just see. 1 second and 23. It's going to finish a little bit earlier, but that's okay. I think the blend out time is going to compensate that. And yeah, so the blend time out is going to be 3. The true blend time is going to be 1, maybe 2. I think it's a good value. The curve is going to be Hermite, cubic, and out. And the active value is going to be the one that I've just selected from there. Reload animation. It's still being active from the event graph. As you can see, it's being read in here. I have a lot of tabs open. Just close them. Animation. Then animation is true. I'm going to use the same here. And after all this, give it a little bit of space and connect it to the layer blend per bone, which is going to blend between the upper body pose and the other pose. And then finally, we're going to connect it to here. Hopefully this works. I don't know if it's going to work. So this is the testing things out to see if they work. Just all right. Let's see if that works. Let's press and play. Pressing R, nothing works. Let me just see toggle pose watch. Let me see what's happening here. Do I have the animation right? Let me just see. Reload slot. I think I have disconnected the animation. Yeah. So I'm just going to reconnect it back. I don't know why I disconnected it. Maybe I thought the animation was going to be executed directly in the animation graph. That's okay. Oh yeah, that's great because we don't need delays if we're playing montages. So that's a very good setup to have. So as soon as the montage is blended out, we're going to disable the reload animation, which is going to end the layering system. Which is going to end the layering for the reload. I don't know why the character turns. That's weird. That's funny. I think this should be the base pose. And I think the layer blend per bone should be mesh space rotation blend because we're having weird rotation issues. But that I don't know if that's gonna solve. Yeah, that is gonna solve. I'm just disable the pose watch, and let me see what we have here. So as you can see, it's pretty good. I think the the spine of the character is a little bit weird. You can see it is a little bit weird. I think it's because I think that's okay, but it could be better. And I think the blend out time takes too much. I think the animation ends too much early. I think it finished too much early. Yeah, that's a lot nicer. All right. And the false blend time is going to be 2. I think that's going to be a lot better. And let's see if that works. Let's experiment with the 34.34, the blend out. I think I'm adding the wrong one. That this should be the 35 on the up second one, the true pose. Yeah, I think that's a lot better. But still the spine looks weird. I don't know what. I think I'm blending directly from the spine. Maybe I should add the blend depth to be 4 for the spine, and for the rest of the body, I could add clavicle R, and clavicle left for the other one. I'm going to add 1 because I don't want to have a very rough blend between. And then let's see what's gonna happen here. So get the gun, and press R. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Yeah, that looks a lot better, honestly. I think the animation looks very fast. I'm not sure if that's just my impression, but I think I'm gonna let the play rate to be 1. I think that's going to be a lot better. That's going to look a lot better. Yeah, that's going to depend on how you want your game to look like. But I think the blend, let me just see which. Okay, so when I start reloading, the false goes to the true, which takes the amount of seconds to. Yeah, I think the true blend time is going to be 2 in this case, or 1.5. It's going to look a lot nicer, and the false blend time is going to be 35. I think that's going to be. Just see how I press R. Yeah, that looks nice. So when the character, as soon as the character reloads, it's going to take 15 seconds in order to have the full blend into the reload animation. Right, so the character is on the base, 10 pulse, and then as soon as I press R, boom, the character is going to take 15 seconds to have that nice smooth blend on the upper body. So I think that's. And the spine, I think we could add maybe, let me just see which spine I'm adding. So I selected spine 2. So which means we're blending from the spine 2 to all the other bodies above. So I'm going to try the spine 4. Maybe it's going to look better. So this is just, testing and see which one will look the best. Which bone to blend will look the best. So, oops, reload. Yeah, I think this looks better. Blending from the spine 4 and above, it's going to look better because the character is not going to have that stiff spine, stiff looking spine. Yeah, but that's going to be it. We got to make the reload animation to be in place, and I think we got a very good result. So in the next live stream, I think we're going to go and set up this blending better. To go ahead and set up the reload system to be much more refined, because this is just a prototype, and we're gonna of course add the sound effects. But so far I'm having very good results. Let me just test to see how the bow is going to be, like how it's going to look like if we add it to the bow. So bow uncompleted. So uncompleted, this reload animation is false. I think we can, instead of just adding it to each macro, we can just add it to here on the macro, so that we don't have to keep adding those booleans, setting those booleans every time. So we can get them to be automatic placed in here. But as this is just a prototype, we can just let them in here. It's not going to bother much. And when I press play, get the bow, let me just see how the bow animation is going. Oh yeah, I have to also set the bow animation to be on the reload slot. So the bow animation montage has to be in the reload slot, assign new slot, reload slot. Okay. Now I'll press on play. Let's see what happens. How the reload animation is going to be. I think it's going to be a lot better than before. Oh, all right. Let me just see what's happening here. I think the animation snaps. I think the pelvis. Maybe the pelvis. I have no idea. Just try to copy all of those curves to see if there is any result in there. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Let me just remove, not remove, but add those curves in there. And try again. Also in the asset details, all the blend in time are all set up. The blend in time and blend out time are all set to .25, so that's good. We don't have any snapping. We shouldn't have any snapping issues as we're having right now, but yeah, that's weird. So just see again how that works. Yeah, that's really weird. I don't know what's happening here. Let me just try to get the bow first. Equip it, and then get the weapon and try to reload. Yeah, it works great. Now for the bow. It snaps. I'm not sure what's happening here. Well, that's something to figure out on the next live stream. I'm gonna try to figure out something before the live to see what's going on, but I think it's just a matter of changing or maybe making a new animation, something related to the animation or the type of blending that we selecting here. Maybe mesh space rotation shouldn't be an option to be added for the bow. Reload. So we're gonna have to just keep testing new stuff. Maybe the bone shouldn't be there. Something's off there. So in the next live stream, we're going to have to fix that issue there to figure out why the snapping effect is taking place there. So that's going to be it. I hope